Good morning. It is so early and I'm just waking up. I don't even normally talk to people at this hour, let alone my husband, but I'm so excited. I had to do it. I had to get up today and talk to you as a continuation of the chat we had a few days ago where we explored the topic of pleasure anorexia. And pleasure anorexia is basically when we deny ourselves, intentionally deny ourselves pleasure. So we discussed that, and if you haven't seen that, you want to check out that video later because the replay is also on my page. But today, at the end of that video, I was talking about sensuality and how sensuality is the way that we make sense of reality. And so today, we're going to talk about this entire time together today is about the key to cultivating pleasure in ordinary moments. But before we get into that, I want to cover the things that get in the way of us actually doing this, because I really believe that we're born innately knowing pleasure. If you look at a baby, its whole body is accessing pleasure through all its senses, through touch and sound. Everything's so amazing to a baby. And so we have it inborn in us to have this very sensual relationship with life, but we are socially conditioned out of it. So I want to talk about a couple things before we go into sharing the key of cultivating pleasure in ordinary moments. So if you're here, what I'd love to know is what are the things that you understand that are getting in your way? If you're listening to this as a replay, just comment anyways, because I literally come back and I check every comment and I will comment on your comments. So leave me a comment. But what are the things that you have noticed that seem to get in the way of you cultivating your pleasure just in ordinary moments? Because a lot of us are pretty good at cultivating pleasure when we make a pleasure date, like this is what's going to be fun, and then we go for it. But in the ordinary life moments, when we're busy, when we're working, when we have stress, when we are emotionally distressed, when we are just facing the world at large, what are the things that keep you from cultivating pleasure? So what came up that was obvious in the last video, in reading all your comments and getting your amazing feedback, is that safety was a huge factor in whether or not you really went for pleasure, that you felt safe, that you weren't going to attract attention in ways that would be harmful to you, that that perhaps even just expressing some kind of delight in the world would suddenly get you unsafe in some ways. So these are assumptions, but actually it is true. We live in a society where pleasure has become a commodity. And when pleasure is a commodity, like any commodity, then we have a strange relationship with it. We think we need to exchange currency for it. And we also think we need to steal it or take it, instead of understanding that it's not a commodity, it's a birthright, and each of us is incredibly wealthy in pleasure. So I just want to read what a couple of you have said. Rashini, I think that pleasure is unnecessary or frivolous, and that work and pushing through is more admirable. Oh, thank you for saying that. I think that that is the most prevalent myth around pleasure. And it's so prevalent that we don't even think that it's a myth. We actually think it's truth. So I'm going to address that in a minute, Roshini, but I want to look at what everyone else is saying for a second. So Ruth is saying moving too fast gets in her way. Megan, the things that get in the way, living in my mind and thinking about how I would describe my experiences in written word later. Okay, so you're kind of like theorizing your pleasure. And then Rashini adds, people look to those who prioritize pleasure as silly, as if suffering is more virtuous. Oh, Rashini, yes. Okay, so let's stick on this one because it is a pain point. And if this is true for you, that there's a part of you that believes or a part of you that has experienced this myth as true, where people in your life have basically frowned upon the frivolousness of pleasure, then give me a sign, give me a like or a little heart or something if that's actually true for you in your life. Because it has been true for me as well. I've not necessarily adhered to it, but it has been true that even my line of work is a frivolous line of work. Come on, there's world starvation, there's climate issues, there's pollution, there's corruption, there's all these things. But here's the thing. If we can take pleasure back out of its commodity description and bring it into birthright, and we understand now, I explained this in the last video, that pleasure is actually a very essential part of how this body functions at its optimal level. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in surviving. I'm not interested in just getting by. I'm not even interested in kind of sort of once in a while feeling good. I'm interested in thriving. And I'm interested in living optimally, not just in my mind, but in my body and in my essence. If that is true for you as well, give me a little sign that you would love to thrive, that you would love to live optimally. And if it is true for you, then you need to understand the role of pleasure more deeply. As I was explaining the aging process, please look up, I think it's called The Telomeres Effect. Fantastic book, all the latest research on telomeres. When you start to read that book, you are going to understand that pleasure is not frivolous, that pleasure is foundational. If you want to bring your genius out into the world, if you want to have better relationships, and if you want to allow this body to thrive and not age uber rapidly. Now, aging when you're young doesn't really matter that much, but what happens is we have like a bank account, and pleasure is what we put into that bank account. So pleasure makes our body bank account thrive. And when we hit the middle age, some of us are in the negative. And then what happens is, if you read the telomere effect, you start to have a million different issues that come up with your body and your psyche and everything. That's why we actually curse menopause, but it's actually not menopause. But that's for another video. The bank account of pleasure is essential because when you come to middle age, you want to be thriving, you want to be blossoming, you want to step into the power stage of life with so much energy and delight that this is going to be the greatest offering of your life, this legacy time of your life. So pleasure is not frivolous. It is essential to thriving, to optimally living. And I dare say, if you want to be more productive, if you want to contribute more, if you want to bring genius ideas to life in the world, then you need to take this pleasure thing and hold it with reverence. This conditioning that makes pleasure frivolous is what keeps us small. It's what keeps us chasing our own tail. It's what keeps us dishing out our life force and our money and our resources to frivolous types of pleasure. My dad, I was telling him I was doing this the other day, and he's like, oh, I know the answer. And he's like, in a world where there's profit to be made, if you don't understand that pleasure is your own birthright, but pleasure is a commodity, then there's a lot of information keeping you believing that it's not your birthright, that you need to keep purchasing something or looking a certain way or behaving a certain way to really thrive in this world, to be happy. But the key to pleasure, our sensual nature, that is the key. Being at home here, cultivating this, it costs nothing. It will cost you one thing. I lied. It'll cost you a choice. And I want to say, Sabina wrote here, how can you cultivate this when health issues are there almost all the time? Oh, Sabine, you've got to read this research. to help your immune system, just that, because there's many other parts, but to help your immune system, you need to have a way to get out of the fight or flight cycle and get out of the what I call the death hormonal cycle and enter the realm where your body is activated more strongly and more capable, and then can handle bringing itself back into balance. All health issues are an imbalance, and the thing that gets us more out of balance is stress. So it's interesting, in a culture that profits from you being sick, that it would equally also profit from you being stressed. So think about that. And let's bring it to a really simple place, because some of you are grieving, some of you have real health issues. I know what that's like. I was told I was going to die. I had 2 weeks to live. And the amount of physical pain that I had in those weeks was excruciating, and I wanted to die just to clear the pain. I get it. I get that it's not always comfortable and exciting and inspiring to pursue this thing called pleasure that feels so far away. That's why I want to talk about the key to pleasure and bring it into our sensual nature for a second. Because sometimes when you use pleasure, you think orgasm or sexuality or some extreme form of pleasure. But I want to talk about pleasure in the ordinary moments. Are you with me? If you're with me, please just give me a little like or a little heart. Just show me that you're with me, that you're getting this, that this is landing for you. So let's talk about our sensuality in ordinary moments. If you're not well, if you're stressed, if you're grieving, your sensuality is the key to bring you into a moment of aliveness. And maybe in that moment of aliveness, it won't feel like an ecstatic orgasm, but there'll be a moment where you'll just like smell a little more. I'm actually going to dare you today. I want to dare you today to explore all of your senses, but especially the weaker ones. So maybe you can type in right now, which sense is weak for you? Which sense? Sometimes our dominant sense right now is kind of hearing and seeing, because we spend a lot of time listening to videos and looking at things online. And maybe a less dominant sense could be smell or touch. Maybe you haven't touched yourself or been touched in a long time. Or taste. Maybe you're not even tasting the food that you're eating. So vision for Tamra, great. So I want you today, here's your invitation. Because it's always an invitation. You don't have to do any of this stuff. But for today, what I'd love you to do is take that weakest sense and see if you can exercise it. So let's take Tamra's vision and Deborah's vision. And let's take a moment today where you start to understand that what you're seeing isn't really what you're seeing. You're taking in all these different things like color and shapes and textures, and you're creating an image in your own mind. But what would happen if you allowed just for a moment that color or that shape or that texture? You gave it a moment to take over. You took a breath and you allowed the texture to touch you inside. You allowed the shape to have an effect where you actually took it in. So I'm looking right now out of my window, I'm looking at this beautiful tree. And when I let that tree in, for real, it touches my heart. And that's the key to activating your sensual pleasure. It's the key to being more alive, is to let life touch you. And use your less dominant one to practice today, but you can for sure use your dominant ones as well. So if dominant for you is sound, then let yourself today listen also to your favorite song, or the song of a bird, or the sound of your lover's voice, or something beautiful, and really let it touch you. Give yourself that experience. You are the one that can give yourself that experience. You. No one else. No one else can amplify this. That's what's so exciting. Do you get it? The power that you have right now in your life to be more alive. And when you choose that, you literally empower your immune system. You literally change how your body reads, okay, this being wants to be alive, and changes the lengths of your telomeres based on that fact. That's crazy good. And then the release of oxytocin, the release of nitric oxide, which even further empowers your body to be more healthy and vibrant. You have that power. It's not about making the difficult things in your life silly and less than. They're intense. Let's get real. There's shit in the world. Yes. Let's get real. Let's say what it is. And let's get real that we are sensual beings. And we are alive. We're alive right now. If this was our last day, how would we spend it? I had to face my death. Many of you don't have to face yours. But when you're face to face with it, you suddenly have an appreciation for the beauty of every single moment. You don't waste it anymore. Are you wasting your life? You can change that by choosing right now to make your sensual nature something you revere, to amplify with the most easy ways. When you taste something, really taste it. When you smell something, if it's disgusting, then please quickly find something delicious to smell. I carry a little bottle of essential oil with me, and I uncap it and I take a deep breath. And it's really important. I've been on public transportation sometimes where the smell is so atrocious. I've just taken out my little peppermint oil and taking a big smell, and it's helped just really bring me back to feeling soft and open when the previous smell kind of shut me down. You have that power. So I'm going to read some of the comments because there's so many awesome comments. And I want to say hi to you because what's amazing about right now is that it's Earth Day. And I think every day is Earth Day because I freaking love nature. Nature is where I feel the most turned on and the most lit up and the most seen and the most expressed. So yay, celebrating Earth Day. But I really want to celebrate you because you're here. You're spending time with me. That's amazing. So I just want to say hi to some of you. To Deborah and Katrina and Sophie and Tamara and Rick and Roshini and Terry and Pacifica. What a cool name. Yeah, just hello. And if I didn't say your name, I apologize. And you're welcome and hello. So happy you're here with me. I'm going to end this really soon. So the way I'm going to end this is just to recap. Pleasure is not frivolous. But in a world that profits from your self-doubt, from your stress, from your illness, you will be made to believe that it's frivolous. So you have a choice right now to take that back. You have a choice right now to go, wow, wait a second. I was born a sensual being. I make sense of reality through my sensuality. Wow, I'm going to revere this beautiful part of being a human being. Oh, happy birthday, Katrina. I love it. I love it. And I want you to exercise that one sense that is the least exercised for you. See if you can bring it a little more to life today. but exercise all of your senses on a regular basis. You'll literally feel more alive for it, and you will actually start to cultivate more, literally more aliveness and wellness for it. So I'm going to end saying I've got in the next week some more. I'm going to talk more about this, so just pay attention because I'm going to put out some more information on this. I'm going to be putting out an invitation to a really fun, a free training that I'm going to do in about a week. So hopefully you'll be aware and around next Saturday. And just for now, what I would love is to share with you a symbol that I use to anchor my choice, that I revere the fact that I'm a sensual human being, and that it's something not only sacred and not only precious, but mandatory if I'm going to thrive and have well-being. So my symbol, I love you too, Tamara. I love you. And my symbol is my jade egg. You can have any symbol, but my jade egg symbolizes the choice, whether I use it or not every day. But the choice, this holds my choice to revere my sensuality, my humanness, my connection. Because get it, ladies and men, your sensuality is what connects you to life. It's what connects you to each other. And we are connection junkies. We need it. If you're feeling alone and lonely and not seen, at least get out in nature and exercise your sensuality and start to feel and exercise this incredible connection. You're not alone ever, because you're connected to the very fabric of life. And through that, we are all connected. And what connects you to this choice? I would love to know. If you don't know now, that's fine. But if you have a physical symbol that anchors your choice to being a much more expressed and alive and embodied human being, I would love to know what that is. So maybe you can put that in the chat for me, or leave me a comment if this is a replay. And let's just celebrate that we're choosing right now to make our sensual nature something of great and immense value. I adore you. Thank you. I'm going to quickly look at some comments here and see if there are any questions at all. Let's see. Rachel. Oh, Rachel, love it. Just came in from walking barefoot in my yard. The trees are speaking to me. Love that. Star says thank you. Love it. Let's see. And lots of hearts. Deborah says thank you for this. I needed to hear all that you said this morning. Love you, Deborah. Love that you're here. Rick says, I love looking at the ocean and meditating. Wow, yes, absolutely. And smelling roses, Rick. You know that's one of my favorite things. If you pay attention to my posts, I've been posting about the amazing roses in my garden and just the amazing fragrance of that. Jennifer, celebration for the choice, the feeling, everything this world has to offer. Yes, yes, yes. I love it, Jennifer. Thank you, thank you. And Roshina, the statue of my beautiful woman on my desk and my jade egg, the two things that connect me with my sensuality. Roshini, love it. Megan, thank you. Enjoying the feeling of sunlight on my skin. Yes, yes. I love it all. So I hope I see you again in some upcoming Facebook Lives this week. And I definitely just mark on your calendar, a special event is happening next Saturday that I want you to be a part of. It's going to be awesome. And I love you. Have an amazing day. Get outside. It's Earth Day. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. You're amazing. And let me know. Come back after you practice a little bit with your senses and let me know what happened. I am so curious to see what happens as your sensuality starts to unnumb and become more and more vibrant. Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.